Marika Oy, thank you for your reporting there. Now, I'm joined now by Jayant Menon, Senior Fellow at the ICS Yusof Ishak Institute. He was also the former lead economist at the Asian Development Bank. Thank you for joining me. At the moment, you have countries in Southeast Asia all trying to negotiate separately. Indonesia, we're hearing about a delegation from Vietnam heading to Washington. Would they have more power if they negotiated together? Could they form a better deal?
I think they would. When you have 50 countries knocking on your door, it's difficult to deal with all of them individually. And depending on your size, I mean, the smaller you are, the more there is to be gained by grouping together. I think the obvious grouping here is ASEAN, and I think countries like Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos will benefit greatly if they could have a common position and negotiate as a group. We have to understand that the long-term objective here from the U.S. administration, as we've heard, is to balance bilateral trade flows. So conceding now or pandering now will not mean that this is the end. I think this is going to evolve, and as long as that objective is not achieved, which is unachievable, by the way, balancing all these bilateral trade deficits, then we're going to see more and more of these types of actions in the future. So simply giving in, if you like, now is not going to be the long-run solution to this unpredictable and erratic trade policy stance of the U.S. administration.
You mentioned ASEAN. The finance ministers for ASEAN are currently meeting. Do you see, of course, I imagine this is going to be a big part of their conversation. Do you see them perhaps forming together to coordinate a response?
Oh, I think they will need to. The finance ministers and the economic ministers, they'll need to try and do that. The big question now is whether the individual approaches will cut into the strength of the common position. This is the classic prisoner's dilemma that they're facing. So if they don't cooperate and hold out for a common deal, then individual countries trying to do deals separately will reduce the veracity of the ASEAN negotiating position. But as you've already pointed out, this has already started. Many countries have already started doing this. So we'll have to just sort of work with what we've got. But I think ASEAN agreed position is important.
Could the US, though, just say, right, ASEAN, that region, if they did play too hardball, they just say, right, this is too hard. There are other places we can host manufacturing in other countries in Africa, Latin America, potentially Eastern Europe, that may offer some of the advantages that they previously had in hosting, manufacturing bases in different ASEAN countries. Is there a chance that the US might just walk altogether?
I think there's a greater chance that this region, Southeast Asia, might walk altogether. It's not easy to recreate the conditions that the Southeast Asian region provides for manufacturing supply chains. Africa or even India is not yet at a level of efficiency or development, for that matter, to provide a decent alternative. I think the greater concern that the US should be worried about is the region turning away from it rather than the other way around. Let's not forget that the US is an important player, even economically, but they're only about 15% of world trade. We can survive without them after a period of transition, which will be painful, but we don't have to pander to everything that they think that they need from the region.
Right, and so I guess, how do you see all of this coming to a close? Do you see this as changing potentially the realignment of the global order, and will China look to take advantage?
I think, what we will remember from all of this once the dust settles is that the US has unnecessarily given away decades of goodwill, both economic and non-economic, for no good reason. This concern about being, mistreated is misplaced. I think you're right. I mean, the long-term outcome of all of this will be a realignment that sees stronger regional cooperation, economically especially. We've got RCEP, the Regional Economic Comprehensive Partnership, that has been sitting on the railroad tracks now, not doing very much since it came into effect in 2022. I think this will give it a kickstart. And I think, yes, China will be the long-run winner from all of this, not because they're necessarily taking advantage, and you can't blame them if they do, but they've been given this golden opportunity because of the vacuum created by the US withdrawing in this way. So I think China will gain, the US will lose, but at the end of the day, actually all of us will lose a little bit.
Plenty to watch and so much to play for. Jayant Menon, thank you for sharing your insights on the program.